The Kentucky Derby is the first big horse race of the season, and besides watching the race, a lot of people like, put a bet on a horse, see which one wins. But gambling can be a slippery slope and lead to all kinds of problems for people who become addicted. Susan Sheridan Tucker is Executive Director of the Minnesota Alliance on Problem Gambling. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I want to talk about is people associate addiction with drugs, alcohol, things like that. But how has an action like gambling become addictive?
So gambling is unique in that respect because often we think about somebody taking a substance, right? But with gambling, it has the same effects on the brain that alcohol and drugs do, which is why it's now in the DSM-5 as a behavioral health addiction and has been since 2013.
It triggers dopamine, excitement,
right.
pleasure.
And so even though you may not be able to recognize somebody with a gambling problem, there are signs that can indicate that people are having problems with their gambling.
What are those signs?
So the DSM-5 looks at 9 specific characteristics, criteria. So people who are spending more time with gambling, they're becoming more obsessed, that it starts to fill their thought process. They're pulling away from relationships. They're not necessarily paying attention on their job, and they're lying about their gambling. They're talking about wins and never talking about losses.
Right.
So those are just 4 of the 9 signs.
Okay, so if someone you know has a problem with gambling, in your opinion, how do you approach them to address it?
There's a lot of stigma attached to this addiction, and so we want people to be really careful about how they approach it. You shouldn't approach somebody with judgment, first of all.
Right.
Like anything, engage in a conversation. Hey Joe, I've noticed that you're spending more time at the casino. Tell me why. What's going on? Has something happened? What's changed in your life? Really just engaging in conversation. And I think we're all about people being self-aware. The more people understand what they're doing, what their actions are, it can really help, raise that red flag for the individual. And certainly if within family systems, if you're noticing your spouse, your brother, are spending more time on their phones particularly, because now that gambling is on the phone, start to engage in that conversation and do it in a way that it's not going to be confrontational.
And Susan, what help is available? So if you've come to the point where you've identified a problem and someone's even self-identified a problem, where do you go? What do you do for help?
So thankfully in Minnesota, some money is set aside. So we have a gambling fund which enables treatment to be free in Minnesota. So anybody, and family members as well, can seek treatment. And a referral can be received by calling 1-800-333-4673.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
Oh,
we
yeah,
really appreciate
pleasure.
having you on. I know
Really.
that time flies by, and with sports gambling potentially passing in the legislature this year, it may or may not, but it's been introduced. This is something that folks need to be aware of and look at. And we appreciate your help.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We're here just to, play smart, bet smart.
Play smart, yeah, that's right. Well, thank you. And we got a link to the Minnesota Alliance on Problem Gambling with resources for you. If you want to check it out, it's all at KARE11.com. Thanks again, Susan.